Once upon a time in a small Nigerian village. Nestled amidst rolling green hills and vibrant farmlands was a peaceful Nigerian village named Umuaif. Known for its communal harmony and deep-rooted traditions, life in Umuaif moved at a steady rhythm, guided by the wisdom of elders and the whispers of ancestral customs. The villagers lived in modest mud brick houses with thatched roofs, surrounded by lush vegetation and the scent of fresh earth. Children played in the open fields, their laughter echoing under the bright African sun, while women gathered at the stream, balancing pots of water on their heads and sharing stories. In this tranquil village lived two inseparable friends, Chigazi and Adiz, both just 10 years old. Chigazi, the son of the village blacksmith, was a boy with boundless energy and curiosity. He would often run barefoot through the fields, his eyes sparkling with the excitement of discovery, whether it was chasing grasshoppers or helping his father craft tools. Adiz, on the other hand, was the daughter of the village's most renowned storyteller. She had a quiet wisdom about her, with a heart as kind as the morning dew. She loved sitting under the great iroko tree, listening to her mother's tales, and weaving intricate patterns in palm fronds. The two were as close as siblings, sharing secrets, dreams, and laughter. They spent their days exploring the forest, climbing trees, and imagining a future where their friendship would last forever. The villagers often smiled at the sight of them, saying, "Those two are destined for something special." Their bond was a source of joy not only to their families but to the entire village. One fateful day, as the village celebrated the annual Yam festival, their families announced an unexpected decision. Following the customs of their ancestors, the two children were to be joined in a ceremonial marriage. It was not uncommon in Umuaif for families to arrange such unions early, ensuring alliances that would strengthen communal ties. The ceremony was simple yet heartfelt, with the elders offering blessings and the community showering the children with gifts of food and clothing. To Chigazi and Adiz, it was just another adventure. They didn't fully grasp the weight of the commitment, seeing it as a continuation of their cherished friendship. But as the days turned into months, the harmony of their little world was shattered. A disagreement between their fathers over land boundaries escalated into a bitter feud, dividing the two families. Chigazi's father, a proud and impulsive man, decided to leave the village and relocate to the city with his family. The morning Chigazi left was etched in Adiz's memory. She stood by the dusty path leading out of the village, clutching the doll he had given her, tears streaming down her face. Chigazi, seated in the back of a cart, turned to wave one last time, his expression a mix of sadness and confusion. And just like that, their bond was severed, leaving Adiz to navigate the years ahead without her closest friend. Though her heart ached, Adiz grew stronger with each passing year, her wisdom deepened by the trials of life. She would one day become a beacon of knowledge and grace, her story entwined with the memory of the boy who had once been her dearest companion. 18 years slipped by like the gentle ebb and flow of the village stream. The quiet village of Umuaif continued to thrive, its rhythm undisturbed by the passage of time. The children who once played in its open fields had grown into adults, taking on the responsibilities of their forebears. Among them was Adiz, who had transformed into a woman of striking beauty and profound wisdom. Adiz had not forgotten the pain of losing her closest friend, Chigazi, but life had taught her resilience. Left behind in the village after Chigazi's family moved to the city, she channeled her sorrow into self-improvement. Her mother's stories, which once enchanted her under the shade of the iroko tree, became her source of strength. She developed a love for history and storytelling, skills she honed as she grew older. As a young woman, Adiz began working at an ancient cultural site located near the village. This site, rich with relics of Nigeria's past, attracted visitors and tourists from across the region. Adiz became a respected guide, leading groups through the site with passion and knowledge, explaining the significance of ancient artifacts and sharing tales that connected the past to the present. Her ability to captivate an audience was unmatched, and her reputation spread far beyond Umuife. Addis was not just admired for her wisdom, her beauty turned heads wherever she went. Her radiant smile and graceful demeanor spoke of an inner peace that had been hard-won. Despite the attention she received from suitors, she remained cautious. The heartbreak of losing Chigazi as a child had taught her the value of self-reliance. She prioritized her work, her family, and her personal growth, content with the life she had built. Meanwhile, in the bustling city, far away in the chaotic hum of city life, Chigazi had carved a different path. His father's decision to leave the village had thrust him into a world of ambition and opportunity. The young boy with curious eyes had grown into a man of great stature, known for his business acumen and sharp intellect. Through hard work and determination, Chigazi had built a successful enterprise, earning wealth and influence. But despite his achievements, there was a void in Chigazi's life. His father's pride and his own relentless pursuit of success had distanced him from his roots. He rarely thought of Umuife or the girl he had once called his closest friend. Yet, deep down, memories of the village and Addis lingered, like a faint whisper he couldn't ignore. As Chigazi's influence grew, so did his ambitions. He decided to run for governorship, believing his leadership could bring positive change to the region. However, his campaign took an unexpected turn when reporters and political rivals unearthed a detail from his past, his childhood marriage to Addis. Questions about the marriage began to circulate, threatening his reputation. Critics demanded clarity. Was he still married? Had he abandoned his wife? Chigazi's advisors urged him to return to the village and resolve the matter, suggesting he divorce Addis to avoid further scandal. At first, Chigazi was reluctant. To him, the marriage was a relic of a distant past, something he had hardly thought about since leaving the village. But the pressure mounted, and with a mixture of apprehension and determination, he decided to make the journey back to Umuife. As Chigazi approached the village for the first time in nearly 2 decades, he felt a wave of nostalgia mixed with unease. The once familiar sights and sounds of Umuife stirred memories he had buried long ago. He wondered what had become of Addis. Would she even remember him? Had she married someone else? What Chigazi didn't expect was to find Addis standing tall, her presence commanding respect and admiration. She was no longer the young girl he had left behind, but a woman whose wisdom and beauty took his breath away. His plan to simply divorce her and move on suddenly seemed more complicated. For the first time in years, Chigazi felt unsure of himself. This was not the reunion he had envisioned. Addis' transformation was a reminder of what he had lost, and he realized that the girl he had once known was now a woman who had built a life of her own. Yet, little did he know, their journey together was far from over. Chigazi's campaign for governorship was off to a promising start. His reputation as a successful businessman and a philanthropist had made him a favorite among the people. His speeches were inspiring, his promises of development resonated with the masses, and his charisma drew admiration from every corner. He seemed destined to win, but his ambition soon collided with an unexpected challenge: his past. During a televised interview, a journalist raised a question that caught him off guard. "Mr. Chigazi, there are rumors about a marriage from your childhood. Can you clarify if you are still legally married or if you abandoned your wife?" Chigazi's heart sank. The question brought memories flooding back, memories of Addis, the girl he had left behind in the village. His advisors had warned him to expect scrutiny, but he hadn't anticipated this. His attempt to deflect the question only raised more suspicion. Soon, the media frenzy began, and opponents seized the opportunity to attack his character, painting him as a man who had neglected his responsibilities. Political analysts, traditional elders, and even ordinary citizens began to weigh in. The issue wasn't just about the marriage, it was about integrity. In Nigerian culture, especially in rural communities, marriage was sacred, and abandoning one's spouse was seen as a grave offense. Many wondered if a man who couldn't honor a marital commitment could truly lead a state. The pressure mounted as Chigazi's political opponents amplified the controversy. Public opinion became divided. Some supporters argued that the marriage was a relic of childhood customs and irrelevant to his campaign. Others believed he needed to resolve the matter to prove his sincerity. Chigazi's campaign team went into crisis mode. Advisors debated the best course of action, and one consensus emerged: he had to return to Umuwife and settle the issue. Whether he chose to divorce Adiz or reconcile with her, the matter had to be addressed publicly. For Chigazi, this wasn't just a political problem, it was deeply personal. The thought of returning to Umuwife after so many years was daunting. He hadn't thought of Adiz in decades, assuming that she had moved on with her life. The idea of facing her again, of confronting the life he had left behind, filled him with both guilt and apprehension. His family added to the tension. His sister, who had always been protective of him, encouraged him to handle the matter quickly and decisively, even suggesting he divorce Adiz and be done with it. But Chigazi couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't so simple. After much deliberation, Chigazi made his decision. He would return to Umuwife, not just to protect his political career but also to face the ghost of his past. Deep down, he knew he owed Adiz an explanation, even if their paths were never meant to cross again. Before leaving, he prepared himself for the worst. He imagined Adiz married, perhaps with children, living a happy life that no longer included him. But he resolved to do what was necessary, even if it meant walking away from the governorship. What Chigazi didn't expect, however, was that his journey back to Umuwife would change the course of his life forever. The questions about his past had not only put his political career in jeopardy but also forced him to confront truths he had long avoided. The answers he sought in Umuwife would determine not only his future as a leader but also the man he would become. When Chigazi returned to Umuwife, he was unprepared for the wave of nostalgia and emotions that swept over him. The village seemed frozen in time, its serene beauty untouched by the hustle of the city life he had come to know. As he approached Adiz's family compound, he felt a mix of trepidation and determination. The once carefree boy who had left so many years ago was now a man with the weight of his past bearing down on him. Adiz, on the other hand, greeted him with a quiet grace that took him by surprise. She was no longer the little girl he had once known, but a confident, wise, and beautiful woman who carried herself with dignity. Her presence seemed to command respect, and Chigazi couldn't help but feel humbled in her presence. The villagers, ever rooted in tradition, saw Chigazi's return as an opportunity to right old wrongs. To his astonishment, Adiz's family, along with the village elders, insisted on a formal reunion of the marriage. Divorce, they argued, was not an option. Their union, blessed by the ancestors, had to be restored. Chigazi felt trapped. He had come with the intention of resolving the matter quickly, perhaps through a quiet divorce, but now he found himself drawn into the village's customs and expectations. Still grappling with the shock of Adiz's transformation and the warmth of the community he had long abandoned, he reluctantly agreed to remarry her. After the ceremony, Chigazi sat down with Adiz and told her the truth. He had married another woman in the city, and together they had a son. However, his wife had tragically passed away, leaving him to raise their child alone. He admitted his guilt and confusion, acknowledging that he had not anticipated the bond of their childhood marriage holding such weight after so many years. Adiz listened intently, her expression calm but unreadable. She told him she understood his struggles, but she made one thing clear: she would not sacrifice her identity or her independence to fit into his world. If they were to move forward, it would have to be as equals. Chigazi agreed, but he remained uncertain. His life in the city was vastly different from the life Adiz had built in the village. He called upon his sister, a pragmatic and protective woman, to help him navigate the situation. However, His sister harbored resentment toward Adis, believing she was an obstacle to Chigoze's future. Chigoze's first test was simple yet calculated. He reduced the household budget significantly, telling Adis to manage all expenses, including feeding the family, paying the staff, and maintaining the household, on a sum that seemed impossibly small. Adis accepted the challenge with grace. Drawing from her upbringing in the village, where every resource was used wisely, she implemented a system of careful planning and frugality. She visited local markets herself, negotiating with vendors and ensuring the household needs were met without compromising on quality. She even taught the servants to be resourceful, turning the situation into a learning experience for everyone. By the end of the month, the house was running smoothly, and Chigoze was shocked to see that Adis had not only managed within the budget but had also saved a small amount. Her success silenced the whispers of doubt among the staff and impressed even Chigoze, though he didn't admit it outright. The next challenge was far more personal. Chigoze's young son, still grieving the loss of his mother, was withdrawn and resistant to Adis' presence. The boy saw her as an intruder and avoided her at every opportunity. Chigoze, unsure if Adis could step into the role of a mother, gave her an ultimatum: she had just 15 days to bond with his son. Rather than forcing her way into the boy's life, Adis chose patience and understanding. She observed him quietly, learning his likes and dislikes. She began by leaving small gestures of kindness, a book she noticed he liked, a meal he mentioned in passing, or a comforting word when he was upset. Slowly, the boy began to open up. One evening, he confided in her about his sadness and his fears. Adis listened without judgment, sharing stories from her own childhood and reassuring him that it was okay to feel vulnerable. By the end of the 15 days, the boy had warmed to her completely, even calling her Mama for the first time. This victory was not just a triumph for Adis but also a turning point in her relationship with Chigoze. Watching her bond with his son stirred something in him, a newfound respect and admiration for her resilience and kindness. Adis' growing presence in the household sparked envy among some of the servants, particularly those loyal to Chigoze's late wife. They began to sabotage her efforts, hoping to frustrate her enough to leave. They misplaced important documents, deliberately spoiled food, and spread rumors about her among the staff. Adis, however, handled each situation with calm composure. When food was ruined, she rolled up her sleeves and prepared meals herself, inviting the same servants to help her and subtly teaching them humility. When rumors reached her, she addressed them directly with kindness, disarming even her harshest critics. Over time, the very servants who had worked against her became her staunchest allies, won over by her sincerity and grace. As Adis began to settle into her new life, Chigoze's former girlfriend, a sophisticated and ambitious woman named Ebo, appeared. Ebo saw Adis as a threat to her rekindled ambitions of being part of Chigoze's life and went to great lengths to create discord. She orchestrated misunderstandings, spread lies about Adis, and even tried to seduce Chigoze, claiming that Adis could never truly fit into his world. Adis, while hurt by Ebo's interference, stood firm. She did not allow jealousy or insecurity to cloud her judgment. Instead, she focused on her relationship with Chigoze, building trust and showing him through her actions that she was his equal, not his subordinate. Chigoze, once swayed by Ebo's charm, began to see the stark contrast between her superficiality and Adis' depth. The challenges Adis faced transformed her from an outsider into the heart of the household. Chigoze, who had once viewed her with skepticism, now looked at her with admiration and love. He saw in her the qualities he had always sought but never recognized, a partner who could stand beside him, not behind him. As they grew closer, their bond deepened into a partnership built on mutual respect and shared goals. For the first time in years, Chigoze felt at peace, and Adis found a place where her strength and wisdom were truly valued. Together, they created a new chapter, one that honored their past while embracing the possibilities of their future. Just as Adis began to find her footing in her new life with Chigozie, an unexpected obstacle emerged in the form of Ebo, Chigozie's former girlfriend. Ebo was everything Adis was not: sophisticated, ambitious, and deeply rooted in the city's fast-paced, elite circles. She was a woman used to getting what she wanted, and what she wanted now was to reclaim Chigozie. Ebo had always harbored feelings for Chigozie, and news of his return to the village and subsequent remarriage stirred both jealousy and determination. In her eyes, Adis was an unworthy rival, an outsider from a village who could never match her charm, education, or social standing. Ebo was convinced that Chigozie had made a mistake and believed she could easily win him back. Ebo's entrance into their lives was as dramatic as it was calculated. She appeared unannounced at Chigozie's office one day, dressed impeccably and exuding confidence. With a feigned air of concern, she congratulated him on his governorship campaign and pretended to be supportive of his new marriage. However, her true intentions became evident when she began to insinuate that Adis was out of place in his life. "Chigozie," she said with a sly smile, "I'm just worried that someone like her might struggle to fit into your world. You've built so much, you deserve someone who can truly complement you." Though Chigozie dismissed her comments, a seed of doubt was planted, and Ebo wasted no time nurturing it. Ebo launched a subtle but relentless campaign to create tension between Chigozie and Adis. She attended Chigozie's public events, ensuring she was always seen by his side, and began dropping hints about their past relationship in front of Adis. She even visited their home under the pretense of offering support, only to undermine Adis with backhanded compliments and subtle jabs. "You're doing so well for someone with no experience in city life," she would say, her words laced with condescension. Ebo's most underhanded move came when she attempted to manipulate Chigozie directly. She fabricated stories, claiming Adis was secretly unhappy and that she had overheard servants mocking her inability to adapt. "She's trying, but this isn't her world," Ebo insisted. "You need someone who truly understands you." Though Ebo's actions hurt Adis, she refused to be drawn into petty conflict. She could see through Ebo's schemes and chose to respond with grace and dignity. Instead of confronting her, Adis focused on strengthening her bond with Chigozie and proving her worth through her actions. Adis' wisdom shone through in the way she handled the situation. When Ebo tried to spread lies, Adis countered with truth and transparency. When Ebo attempted to alienate her from Chigozie, Adis built bridges, ensuring their communication remained open and honest. Her quiet strength and refusal to stoop to Ebo's level only made her more admirable in Chigozie's eyes. Ebo's desperation peaked when she staged a scene at one of Chigozie's campaign events. She cornered him and tearfully confessed her undying love, hoping to sway him in front of an audience. To her shock, Chigozie publicly rejected her, stating firmly that his loyalty was to Adis. "You had your chance, Ebo," he said. "What Adis and I have is real, and I won't let anyone come between us." Ebo, humiliated and defeated, left the event in disgrace. Though she tried to regroup and make further attempts to win him back, the damage to her reputation and Chigozie's unwavering support for Adis made it clear she had lost. The ordeal with Ebo, though painful, brought Chigozie and Adis closer together. For the first time, Chigozie fully understood the depth of Adis' character. Her ability to rise above jealousy and conflict, her grace under pressure, and her unwavering commitment to their relationship made him see her in a new light. Ebo's interference became a pivotal moment in their marriage. It forced Chigozie to confront his own doubts and recognize the true value of the woman he had underestimated. From that point forward, he resolved to stand by Adis, not out of obligation but out of genuine love and respect. The unexpected rival may have tested their bond, but it ultimately strengthened it, proving that love built on mutual respect and trust could withstand even the most cunning adversaries. Just when Adis and Chigozie seemed to have overcome all challenges, life took an unexpected and devastating turn. Their bond had grown strong, forged through trials and triumphs. Adis was now pregnant with their first child, and their family was on the brink of a bright and joyful future. The news of the pregnancy brought hope and excitement into their home. Chigazi often spoke about his dreams for their child, imagining a life filled with love, opportunity, and success. Chigazi's campaign for governorship was gaining momentum, and his business ventures were thriving. However, with success came increased responsibilities and demands on his time. He often had to travel for work, attending meetings and events across the state. Despite the distance, he made every effort to stay connected with Adis, often calling to check on her and the baby. One fateful day, Chigazi embarked on a business trip that would take him to a neighboring state. The trip was important, involving a significant deal that could boost both his campaign and his company. He reassured Adis that he would be back in a few days and promised to take some time off once the trip was over to focus on her and the baby. Adis, though slightly uneasy, kissed him goodbye and watched as he drove off. She spent the next few days preparing for his return, eager to share stories about the baby's movements and the nursery plans she had been working on. On the day Chigazi was supposed to return, Adis received the news that would shatter her world. His car had been involved in a fatal accident on a remote highway. The details were grim. His vehicle had collided with a truck, and despite the efforts of first responders, Chigazi had not survived. Adis' heart broke into 1,000 pieces. The man she had grown to love, who had become her partner and confidant, was gone. The news sent shockwaves through their home, their family, and the entire community. The man who had once left her behind as a child and returned as a husband and father was now forever out of reach. Grief consumed Adis, but she knew she couldn't afford to collapse under its weight. She was now responsible not only for herself but also for Chigazi's son and the unborn child they had dreamed of together. As the days turned into weeks, Adis leaned on her inner strength and her unwavering faith to navigate the overwhelming sorrow. Chigazi's son, who had grown to love and trust Adis, struggled deeply with the loss of his father. Adis became his pillar of strength, comforting him and helping him process his grief. Together, they found solace in one another, their bond growing even stronger in the face of tragedy. When Adis gave birth to their child, she named the baby Chigazi, in honor of her late husband. She saw the baby as a symbol of hope, a reminder that life, despite its pain, always carried the potential for renewal. Adis raised Chigazi's son and their baby with love, teaching them the values their father had upheld: integrity, resilience, and kindness. She poured her wisdom into their upbringing, ensuring they would grow into strong, compassionate individuals. Though the loss of Chigazi left a void that could never truly be filled, Adis found strength in her children and her memories. She became a beacon of hope for others in the community, a living testament to the power of perseverance and love. The tragic turn in their story marked an end, but it also signaled a new beginning. Adis' journey of self-discovery and resilience became a legacy, one that would inspire those around her for generations to come. Through her strength, she transformed heartbreak into a narrative of hope, proving that even in the darkest times, life continues, and love endures. After Chigazi's tragic passing, Adis' life took on a new purpose. Though grief weighed heavily on her, she refused to let it define her future. Instead, she channeled her pain into building a legacy that honored Chigazi's memory and celebrated the values they had fought so hard to uphold together: resilience, kindness, and unconditional love. Adis devoted herself to raising her two children, Chigazi's son from his first marriage and the baby she had lovingly named after him. She became a source of strength and guidance for both, ensuring they grew up with a deep understanding of their roots and the values their father cherished. Chigazi's son, who had once struggled to accept Adis, now looked to her as his mother and role model. She nurtured his talents and encouraged him to embrace both his father's ambition and his own individuality. For her newborn child, Adis poured all her dreams and hopes into creating a future that would be filled with love and opportunity. Despite her loss, Addis made their home a place of warmth and joy. She told her children stories of their father's courage, generosity, and dedication, ensuring his memory lived on in their hearts. Through her example, they learned the importance of compassion, humility, and perseverance. Addis' wisdom and grace became a beacon of hope for her village and beyond. As she raised her children, she also became a mentor to others in the community, especially young women facing hardships. She shared her story, not as a tale of loss, but as one of resilience and self-discovery. Addis resumed her work as a guide at the ancient cultural site, but her role evolved. She began hosting workshops and storytelling sessions, teaching the younger generation about their heritage and the lessons history held for the future. Tourists and villagers alike were drawn to her, captivated by her eloquence and the depth of her knowledge. Her reputation as a wise and compassionate leader spread, and she was often sought out for advice and mediation in village matters. Elders respected her insight, and younger women admired her strength, often referring to her as Mama Addis, a title that reflected her nurturing spirit. Addis also took it upon herself to honor Chigozi's unfinished dreams. She used her growing influence to advocate for causes he had been passionate about, such as education, healthcare, and community development. With the support of the village and funds from Chigozi's estate, she spearheaded initiatives to build schools, improve healthcare facilities, and create opportunities for the less privileged. Through her efforts, Chigozi's legacy extended far beyond the family he left behind. His name became synonymous with progress and hope, and Addis ensured his vision for a better society was realized. Addis' story of love, loss, and resilience became an inspiration to many. Women across the region looked up to her as a symbol of strength, learning from her journey that self-worth and wisdom could triumph over any adversity. Her children, growing up under her guidance, carried forward the lessons she instilled in them. Chigozi's son grew into a thoughtful and kind-hearted leader, using his father's legacy and Addis' teachings to make a difference in the world. Her own child, a reflection of her determination, became a bridge between tradition and modernity, embracing the values of their heritage while striving for progress. As the years passed, Addis' impact was felt far and wide. Her name was spoken with reverence, not just for her strength as a mother and wife, but for her role as a custodian of wisdom and a catalyst for change. Her life became a testament to the enduring power of love and the strength found in self-discovery and resilience. Addis' legacy was not defined by her trials but by how she rose above them. In her, the world saw the profound truth that even in the face of heartbreak, love could create something eternal, a legacy that would inspire generations to come.